Hello, you're watching VTV News live from Hanoi. I'm Hoài Lương and this is what's in for the headlines of this hour. Integration creates challenges for Vietnamese laborers. Vietnam to apply trade remedies against imported steel ingots. Vietnam prepares financial resources to realize the Paris Agreement on climate change. Top news for this hour. The ceremony to honor the outstanding ASEAN women entrepreneurs was held in Hanoi this morning with 87 outstanding entrepreneurs from 10 ASEAN countries. Vice President Nguyễn Thị Doan attended the event. This is part of the second ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Forum's activities. Women entrepreneurs honored at the ceremony are those who have made excellent achievements in doing business, significantly contributing to the socio-economic development of their countries and region. 7 Vietnamese women entrepreneurs were honored at the ceremony. This is an opportunity for Vietnam's businesswomen to share and learn from successful experiences in the region. The event also promotes ASEAN women entrepreneurs' activities in the future. The establishment of the ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Network in 2014, Vietnam served as chair during the first term. The network has actively supported Vietnamese women entrepreneurs in their developing the business in the context of greater international integration. The ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Forum held yesterday in Hanoi was one of the network's annual activities.
The event saw the participation of 350 domestic and international delegates. Speaking at the event, Vice President Nguyễn Thị Doan stressed that women entrepreneurs were a pioneering force in the economic development of many countries.
This year's theme is consistent with the conditions and objective of promoting the development of women-owned businesses through strengthening the role of women in business activities and connecting businesses regionally and globally. I believe that the forum will be an opportunity to exchange experiences in order to promote greater business and trade between ASEAN and its partners.
Besides sessions relating to measures to enhance the role of women entrepreneurs in ASEAN, the forum also held activities such as an exhibition that featured products from the ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Network member countries.
For this program is a second forum, but as far as the Women Entrepreneur Association, we participated before forming the R1. So since we are negotiating about the charter, we are already participated in here. So what we expect is that as for the women entrepreneurs, we form the network to participate and to penetrate the global market throughout of the ASEAN.
The network comprises of women-owned businesses in the region and is aimed at developing links between the ASEAN Women's Committee and ASEAN's Women's Federation as part of efforts to address poverty.
During my term, I've contributed to building ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Network in ASEAN and globally. Many organizations internationally knows about us, for example, World Bank.
According to the General Statistics Office, 42% of businesses startup in Vietnam are established by women. ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Network will help facilitate the development of business in Vietnam and ASEAN women entrepreneurs, bolstering their role for the development of the ASEAN economic community.
A conference on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement and Vietnam from ratification to implementation was held on Thursday in Vĩnh Phúc Province. It was organized by the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID. The event was supposed to provide the National Assembly with information on the possible ratification of the agreement sometime this month.
Experts at the conference agreed that of the 12 member countries, Vietnam could benefit the most from TPP. The agreement could provide a $35.5 billion increase in GDP, while exports could grow by a potential $68 billion.
The tariffs will go down in important markets like the United States. So Vietnam's exports should grow. Also, Vietnam's attraction to investment should grow. So foreign companies, domestic companies, all will be able to invest in new products.
Vietnam could be the beneficiary of many opportunities as exports could see major cuts in tariffs. Experts at the event also said that in order for Vietnam to effectively make use of the opportunities that TPP presented, the country would need to revise its laws to meet the requirements of the TPP and fulfill its commitments.
The role of the National Assembly is very, very important. National Assembly, first, we hope, will ratify, and then we'll have to change quite a number of laws in order to reflect the commitments that were made in TPP. So it's a big job for the National Assembly.
After issuing a series of laws such as the bankruptcy law, law on public investment and capital management law, the 14th National Assembly will continue revising the law on commerce, which now includes a new chapter on e-commerce. Other laws such as the competition law and consumer protection law will also be amended. All these amendments would be in the spirit of the TPP.
The conference offered a complete review of the opportunities and challenges posed by the TPP, as well as suggestions for the future action in post-TPP ratification environment. This information will be of great importance, especially as Vietnam prepares to discuss the ratification of the agreement.
FDI flow will increase after the implementation of TPP agreements in the coming time. However, the Vietnamese labor force still has difficulties in meeting the market demand. Although many adjustments in vocational training have been adopted, there remain obstacles in labor integration for the country.
A small survey to collect enterprises' comments on the country's labor force has been launched.
Because the difference between knowledge learned in school and in real situations, we usually have to retrain new employees.
We need more employees who are trained in vocational schools, not only in universities.
Halfway through the implementation of the 2011-2020 strategies for education development, the result still doesn't meet expectations. According to a representative from the Ho Chi Minh City Job Center, in 2015, about 20% of profiles included a college degree, but recruitment requires only 4%, which means about 16% may be unemployed. Meanwhile, only 13% of profiles are at vocational training level, while recruitment demand is up to 22%.
Currently, recruitment demand remains low, while the number of university graduates is increasing. That's why it's hard for new graduates to find jobs.
In 2015, about 178,000 university graduates were jobless, while 85% of local firms struggled to find skilled laborers. These pose obstacles for the country's labor force in a fierce competition of ASEAN labor market.
The Malaysian embassy in Vietnam has issued a preliminary conclusion on an anti-dumping investigation related to cold-rolled steel products imported from Vietnam, which was published on January the 22nd this year by Malaysian Ministry of International Trade and Industry. Malaysia started the investigation on August the 27th last year. The investigation agency found China, South Korea and Vietnam guilty of dumping, with Vietnamese products set to face an increased tariff, rising from 4.58% to 10.55%. Malaysia decided to apply anti-dumping duty based on the dumping margin to protect its domestic steel sector. Final conclusion will be issued within 120 days from January the 25th this year. Domestic enterprises in the steel sector are facing many difficulties due to an influx of imported products. Regarding this issue, the Vietnam Competition Authority of the Ministries of Industry and Trade are conducting an investigation on imported steel ingots. More to follow.
In the first 2 months of 2016, the total amount of imported steel ingots from China has doubled. Meanwhile, the price has been reduced by 20%. According to Vietnam Competition Authority, this price reduction was caused by the yuan devaluation. Moreover, the European market is applying trade remedy investigation against steel products imported from China, as Vietnam has become the main market for Chinese steel.
If we don't have any effective trade remedies, this issue may weigh down the domestic steel industry.
This factory had to cut 50% of its production. 26 other domestic firms also reduced their production due to the inflow of imported products.
It may lead to bankruptcy. If one sector needs to consider bankruptcy, we will depend on imported steel ingots.
According to the World Trade Organization, 60% of annual trade remedies throughout the world are related to the steel sector. Therefore, Vietnamese firms have been urged to learn more about trade remedies to protect domestic production.
We are willing to support enterprises in pursuing trade remedies.
According to the Vietnam Competition Authority, a preliminary report on trade remedies against imported steel ingots will be completed next week.
Still to come on VTV News, Vietnam prepares financial resources to realize Paris Agreement on climate change. And Outside Festival concluded last night as an early present for the ladies ahead of the International Women's Day.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
You're watching VTV News live from Hanoi. A delegation of the Vietnam Supreme People Procuracy led by Deputy Procurator General Trần Công Phan is now in Vientiane, Laos for a working visit. The delegation was received by Lao Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Thongloun Sisoulith in a meeting yesterday. At the meeting, the Lao Deputy Prime Minister affirmed that the support provided by the Vietnamese Supreme People's Procuracy for his country will help Laos successfully host the upcoming 10th ASEAN-China Procurators General Conference. For his part, Deputy Procurator General Trần Công Phan reported the delegation's working outcomes in Laos over the last 2 days to the host, saying that the visit aims to share his agency's experience in holding the conference with its Lao counterpart. The National Administration of Tourism issued a travel advisory for 24 countries affected by Zika virus. The agency requested international tourism agencies to warn its tourists, especially pregnant women, about risks when traveling to nations hit by Zika virus in Latin America. The Zika virus has been linked to the microcephaly, a condition that causes babies to be born with unusually small heads and, in the vast majority of cases, brain damage. As of February the 25th, the virus has circulated in 43 countries and territories, mostly in South America, the Caribbean, and the Pacific Ocean. Vietnam has seen no cases so far. A seminar was held in Hanoi on Friday to discuss preparations for realizing the Paris Agreement, which was reached at the 21st Conference of the Parties, or COP21. In order to realize the target of limiting the planet's warming to below 2 degrees Celsius, member states committed to shifting to a low-carbon socio-economic development model. This brought about several challenges for Vietnam, especially in financial resources.
Among a lot of challenges that Vietnam is predicted to face when implementing the Paris Agreement to respond to climate change, funding is considered a big issue. As of now, Vietnam has been implementing the agreement in a voluntary manner.
We have heard a lot about the contribution of $100 billion from developed countries in coping with climate change until 2020. However, in 2014, the spending on climate change response reached $3 billion. This shows that financial resources from the government account for a small proportion compared with enterprises.
In order to realize the target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions to below 8%, which Vietnam committed to at the COP21, the country needs to focus on the fields of energy, forestries, and agriculture. However, the shift to green energy requires the adoption of environmentally friendly technologies.
We're working very closely with the government and other partners to help Vietnam develop the particular policies and capacities and skills and networks and also market policies that can enable investment in this, because successfully implementing the Paris Agreement will require both government finances, international finance.
Currently, the impacts of climate change, including salinization and drought, are severely affecting many provinces throughout the central and southern regions of Vietnam. Due to climate change, a large number of local people are facing the threat of poverty and food shortage. Mobilizing financial resources is an imperative task for the government to implement measures on climate change response.
A number of photos of the Vietnamese landscape and local people's daily lives taken by the Hollywood crew of the Kong Skull Island blockbuster have broken on the internet lately. Many members of the film crew, from director Jordan Vogt Roberts to actors including Jason Mitchell and Thomas Mann, were frequently uploading pictures of Vietnam onto the internet while filming in the country. There are pictures of Quang Binh province Phong Nha Cave and Ninh Bình province scenery, as well as local people's daily lives, have drawn the attention of a large number of viewers on Facebook and Instagram. The Kong Skull Island film crew is currently working on important shots in Ninh Bình Northern Province. The Temple of Literature in Hanoi was recently lit up with festivities for 4 days straight. This time, it was a fashion extravaganza on display. The Áo Dài Festival concluded last night and presented an early present for the ladies ahead of the International Women's Day on March the 8th. Our VTV reporter Michael Liu was right on the scene to bring you more.
Áo Dài is the national symbol of Vietnamese women's charm, and to exhibit it, the Vietnamese fashion industry has taken to another national symbol, where the old meets the new. With the theme of flowers, 19 fashion designers from all across the country have gathered together here at the Temple of Literature to celebrate the beauty of Vietnamese women through the traditional dress of Áo Dài. What makes this year's event even more special is the fact that each of the designers has chosen for themselves a flower to represent their own collection. This is the Antigone collection, performed by 20 models. The work features silk, tussore and taffeta with patterns of flowers and butterflies.
My pieces have been designed to tell different notes of a love story inspired by Antigone flowers. I want to portray both the youthful and sophisticated natures of the female beauty.
This tulip collection is about colour contrast, as tulip exist in diverse colours. However, it was not designed by a Vietnamese designer, but a Spanish expat who's lived in Vietnam for 12 years.
We would like to use the tradition of Vietnam in terms of the silk and in terms in the techniques, but bring a new spirit in the graphics on the outside. No?
I love how genuine and intimate this show has been. It doesn't feel like just another catwalk, but a homely display of female beauty.
The Aozai Festival will run from March the 1st to the 4th, right ahead of the International Women's Day. This was a tribute from the fashion industry and Hanoi authorities to all the ladies out there. Michael Liu, Vietnam Television, Hanoi.
Italy is rightfully regarded as the home of the traditional pizza, but there is no doubt that other countries have taken to the dish, adapted it with different toppings and tastes. Sellers in the Mekong Delta city of Cần Thơ have departed even further from the traditional pizza, presenting something they call a noodle pizza. Let's take a look in the following report.
This dish is nicknamed a noodle pizza. Its actual ingredients are noodles and coconut milk, which can easily be found in the south of Vietnam. It's also extremely easy to make.
It's better than European to some extent, of course.
This dish is very good. I definitely will come back here.
The so-called noodle pizza is something of a surprise for many tourists. Besides enjoying the food, customers can try making the dish themselves, from producing the noodles to baking the final pizza.
It's a lot different than in Denmark, so it's nice for us to see how you make things.
It's funny. It's always nice to learn something new and see something new.
Making the most of local ingredients is a great way of developing tourism business in traditional villages, helping provide higher incomes for the locals in Cần Thơ city. And with the new noodle pizza, there's another reason to visit the Mekong Delta's largest city.
Japanese pottery has become popular among Vietnamese people in recent years due to its rustic yet refined appearance. In this edition of Culture Watch, we will offer you a view of this trend and a closer look into the Japanese tradition.
A sakura teapot. Lucky Cat's Maneki Neko. An ancient citadel cup. An iris vase. Typical symbols of Japanese culture are brightly displayed on pottery. And these are only a few of the 2,000 pieces of Japanese pottery in the collection of Nguyễn Thu Hà. Since falling in love with Japanese culture, Ha has learned much about the art. For her, Japanese pottery, with its 4,000-year-old history, is a reflection of the culture, people, and evolution of Japan.
I love molded and hand-painted items. They are considered the most typical pieces of Japanese pottery. With molded and hand-painted items, there is hardly ever another like it. Even with the same model, a craftsman's spirit is different each time. I'm truly impressed with Japanese pottery, especially the long history I read about.
Japanese pottery is usually thin and has small partings. To create these products, artisans must be vigilant in every step, from choosing the clay, molding and glazing it, to firing it and drawing the partings. Especially, according to Ha, each parting of traditional Japanese pottery has its own meaningful story.
Eggplants do not have much meaning in Vietnamese or other Asian cultures. However, for the Japanese, it means proliferation. They believe that if they dream of eggplants at the start of the year, they will have children. In general, each pattern of traditional Japanese pottery has an interesting story.
If Ha's love for Japan brought her to pottery, Hui's passion for pottery taught him more about the country. Hui was among the first to bring Japanese pottery to Hanoi a few years ago. As a lecturer at Hanoi University of Industrial Fine Arts, Hui soon realized the attraction of simple patterns of Japanese pottery.
Japan has a philosophy of seeing the beauty in simple things. Their products are often simple, but they convey the Japanese spirit. This is what's most interesting about the Japanese items. With just 1 or 2 pen strokes, artisans ensure both aesthetic standards and the spirit of the object.
He believes that collecting also means inspiring others who have the same passion for Japanese culture. Whether those who come to his shop are familiar with Japanese pottery or not, they are all impressed by these little items.
Cái sản phẩm của Nhật mình thấy nó rất là nhẹ nhàng, tinh tế.
Japanese pottery is elegant and refined, and also cute. I feel at peace when I look at Japanese pottery. I often buy Japanese pottery since I love them. They are functional and good quality. They also look pretty.
Through Japanese pottery, people can learn about Japanese culture. Simply through their patterns, someone who does not know about Japan can still understand the culture. For example, the attention to detail when making an item. The more sophisticated the artisan's work, the more simple the product. And viewers are able to see this skill through such simplicity.
These cute little items attract Vietnamese youngsters with their beauty and the fascinating stories behind them. Collecting Japanese pottery has introduced a Japanese culture to Vietnamese. And collectors like Ha and Huy have helped expand the cultural bridge between Vietnam and Japan.
That was our weekend editions of A Culture Watch, and let's now check the updated weather forecast. And that's it for now. Do log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more updated news. Thank you very much for your time, and goodbye.